Hello, welcome to May 8th, 2028. My name is Kurt, and this is my Good Life Meditation, an exercise that I do every morning, a little bit just before the sun comes over the horizon every morning. I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use the time, look at this bug. Whoa, 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 there it goes. I also use this time to try to remember my life objectives and principles. Like I said, I also use the time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the challenges. Here it comes again. And the opportunities that I met. I plan for the coming day. I prepare myself for death. Here it comes. What is that bug? Look at that. And I prepare for the coming day. I get ready for today. Here it comes again. Can you see it? I wonder what that is. I wonder if you can see it if I see it flying right there. There it goes. All kinds of critters are showing up. So anyway, let's get started. First, welcome to new subscribers, and a disclaimer that I do talk about things that are, even though I'm in Japan, I don't really talk about Japan. I talk about my life and the things relative to whatever's happening that is a challenge and how I did with these challenges. I'm quite distracted by this big flying insect that keeps buzzing around. And I also, but I also talk about sensitive subjects sometimes that make people uncomfortable. So, like death. So just be ready if you choose to stick around. I do this video every morning also. You can always find it because it says Good Life on it. All right, so I'm going to do three things now. I'll talk about, first, welcome new subscribers. Thank you, I'm glad you're here. And, thank you as well, because I went to a mini stop this morning to respond to comments, and I had a melon pond while I was there, and thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to do three things now. I'm going to go over my notes from yesterday. I'll talk about my creed, and then I'll share about today. It should go pretty quick. Yesterday was an interesting day. I only have one note here, working day. Yesterday was a really interesting day. Let me show you what I was doing. So I rebooted my old online business, and I had this idea this time that I would create something called Softypapa's Shelf, and this is Softypapa's Shelf right here. It's basically, because I was an antique dealer before, instead of having hundreds and hundreds of items stacked up on boxes, of every sort, I would just pick the most select, creative, the most interesting items, the ones that really engaged with me, and I would have them on a shelf, and I would call that Softypapa Shelf. I would list them, instead of on eBay, I would list them on my YouTube store, and that's what I did yesterday. I listed all of those items in my store, and I have some more to do today. These items right here I'm going to list as well. And I literally spent the whole day listing. I've got this, see my little, if I turn the camera, my little standing desk here, isn't this nice? And it doubles as a photography studio because the sun comes through really nicely, and I've got this, isn't that nice? I got the beautiful green background there, so I can take the photographs here and list the items. And that's literally what I did. I listed all day long, all morning long, one after the other, literally all day long. And I only spent a little time out in the garden, but I cut some branches down from the big tree. I'm very carefully pruning this big tree to adjust the light so that we get more light in the garden. And it's coming out very well. Very careful and deliberate effort. And guys, boy, I am really feeling retired lately, in the best sense. If retirement was a promise that was made, it feels like that promise is being realized. It took me 5 months to get here. It began with that PEF, that peaceful, easy feeling that I began to feel a few weeks ago. And I've transitioned out of I mean, I'm not feeling at all like I did a few weeks ago, in terms of uncertainty anymore. Um, it's just kind of faded away, and instead, there's just a very relaxed sense, and it's kind of pervasive now. Maybe it was the season. Maybe it's the ability to wear a short sleeve or go just wear my shorts. Yesterday, Yumiko was giving me looks askance because I spent half the day in just nothing but shorts. I was running around bare top, nothing but I just because I was all over the place. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but again, I'm documenting also my life on the Retiring in Japan uh, series as well. But that's a little bit of that. So anyway, I spent literally the whole day yesterday just listing items, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm labeling it as a working day. The reason that I'm labeling it as such is that it felt like work, because it felt like I had a decided purpose that I was going to fulfill, which is that I was going to take all of the items that I had so far purchased to list in my eBay store, and my YouTube store, and I had made great headway in doing just that. So yesterday was a good day. No particular challenges that I can think of. I didn't spend very much money. I basically spent the whole day here. Nothing to really share. Okay, let's go over the 8 objectives of my creed and go over one of the principles. The 8 objectives are as follows. Number 1 is to be always ready to die. And I'm going to push back. I'm getting a lot of pushback from people about my bringing up of this topic. And I'm going to push back and say that it's the most important thing that I do every day is to prepare to die. Because then I'm prepared to die. And then my life is settled in a settled state. I don't know why that comes across as so negative. But so to that end, am I ready to die? Well, I have to answer yes to 3 questions. First question is, are my worldly affairs in order? My papers, my survivorship documents, my finances, my will, and all that other stuff. Are they in order? Yes, they are. So yes, number 1 is a yes. Number 2, do I have any bad relationships with anybody that I need to fix? No, I don't. So yeah, number 2 is in good shape. Number 3, is my life's work complete, or if not complete, in a state of readiness for me to go? Well, my life's work consisted of 2 things. 1, raising my daughter. That was a project that I did together with my wife. And yeah, my daughter's raised and on her own. So that part's done. The second of my life's work was to live a life of considered days, reflecting on where the hell I found myself. What is this thing that I'm doing alive? What is this thing? And make some effort to try to understand it, and then to codify write down and codify what I learned. And that work is done in the form of my book, Going Alone, which is absolutely complete. So yeah, that one's done too. So my affairs are in order, my relationships are sound, and my life's work is complete. Yeah, I'm ready to die. If I was to die today, I don't want to die necessarily, but if I was to die today, I could do so without a single backwards glance. What that means is that the backwards glance means that, let's say I get a heart attack or a stroke, and I've got just enough cognition remaining that as I'm not thinking, oh, I wish I'd done. No, it's just like, wow, it's been great, or it's been interesting, or thanks for all the fish, and then down. That's what it means to be ready to die. That's my first objective, and it's number 1 because it's the most important thing. Because if I can prepare myself for death, if I can make myself ready for death every day, then I've lived, my life is in good shape, my life is in good order, I've lived a worthwhile life. I haven't left anything of importance on the table, so to speak. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of time so that I'm not wasting my days. Yesterday was a really good day of effective use, even though I'm retired and I don't have to do anything necessarily. I want to make good use of the time. Now, Kurt, you might say, but doesn't that hearken to the idea that your life's work still remains? Maybe, but my life's work can be an ongoing project. It's like setting the table and then enjoying the feast, right? You can enjoy the feast, but setting the table and enjoying the feast are 2 separate things. Writing my book, raising my daughter was setting the table. Now, enjoying the feast means the reflections and the time that's spent enjoying that, watching my daughter live her life, participating and helping her out as I can, um, uh, and enjoying the fallout, so to speak, and the echoes and the reverberations of the lifelong effort of writing my book. These are good uses of time. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Even though my creed is codified, it's written down, doesn't mean I don't need to adjust it. I might have to tune it from time to time. I haven't had to tune anything for a long time. Tuning would mean I would actually have to go into the manuscript of the book and change some wording or add a new principle or objective or change it in some way. Haven't had to do that in a long time. I think it's pretty well settled. I did that for the first 5 years of editing. I would constantly, it only started out, when I first started out, I had 8 principles when I first codified it. Now I've got 35 principles and 8 objectives. So what is that? 43 things, whereas first I had 8. So I added a lot over time. So that crows going somewhere, coming off of the Nihon. That's kind of a wilderness area right up there. So the crows go up there to roost at night. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who responds well when things don't go well. Lately, I've been getting really good at that, if I do say so myself. And that's what this purpose of this video is to look at how I'm doing and try to figure out how I'm doing. It's been hard. It's been a long time since anything took me by surprise and I responded poorly. What that would mean is that if something happened and in hindsight, I was like, wow, that thing happened. But man, I responded like crap, right? You know, I made a scene. I responded all out of proportion. You know, whatever it is, I'm embarrassed about what I did or what I said or anything like that. That hasn't happened in a long time. Things always are happening that are out of expectation and disproportionate to what I think is reasonable. But it's rare that anything gets me by surprise anymore. It's amazing how exercising the mind can make one ready for the unexpected. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my creed. It's very easy to do, in fact, because if our values are foremost, then it's easy to make a decision about where the direction of the values are. If we tune our compass every day to our ethical north, which I try to do through the virtue of this video, then I'm tuned. I'm pointed in the right direction. And the choices that I make are typically in proportion and in due alignment and in accord with what that tuned purpose is. But that's what's the objective number 5 is to live a life where my energies, my actions are in alignment with my values. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities so that I'm reaching for things that I can actually grasp. Not trying to get to the bamboo. Although I did. There was a vine hanging off of this branch here sometime back. I leaned out quite a ways over this balcony to try to get it. Idiot. And that's what I mean, is not doing that in life itself. Like at age 60 years old, there's some things that it just ain't going to happen in my life. And I'm careful to remind myself of what my reasonable limits are. Doesn't mean there's things that I can't do with enough practice and effort, and especially now that I'm retired, I have time and resources to do the things I like, but a lot of things I don't like to do. I don't want to do anymore. Like people keep, not lately, but people would pester me for a while after I gave up my motorcycle. They, when are you going to buy a motorcycle and motorcycle tour Japan? That's not something that's going to happen. I have, and that's because I've made a decided purpose that riding a motorcycle is beyond the scope of my, it's not necessarily my ability, although there is some to that, of my interest. It's beyond the scope of what I want to do because of the potential consequences of an accident that I've decided that I don't want to take that gamble. So I'm not going to do it. So I don't reach for something that I choose not to attend to, even if it's something that I could reasonably do. It's a tricky balancing act, huh? On the other hand, I have to be careful to also ask myself about the things that are within my reach that I maybe should be doing, that are obligations perhaps. And am I attending to those things? For example, the need to keep a contact with my mother, which is a tricky thing because she doesn't like me. You know, I go over this sometimes. And how do you keep a solid, steady relationship with someone that doesn't want a relationship with you without seeming like you're forcing yourself upon them? It's a tricky balance. But yet, I have to endeavor to do that. So, because it is my filial obligation as her son to be aware of when she's eventually going to need me so that I can be there to help. I've kind of wandered a little bit in that one, huh? The number 7 is to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, just like I am speaking right now, slowly and deliberately and carefully. And by the way, this is not my natural way of talking. Look at my videos from a decade or more ago, if you like, and you'll see how I really talk. I'm a very energetic and hyperactive person. Maybe I've settled a little bit by age, but a lot of this is deliberate. I'm very careful to control the cadence and the measured speed and tone, intonation, and the vocabulary that I use. And I've been practicing it so long that it's no longer a conscious thing. It's kind of just a practice thing. Likewise, the way I walk. Likewise, the way I behave. Likewise, the way I interact with everybody else. Trying to be careful to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Measured cadence, measured pace, relative to the pace of life that I want to live, and attending to the things that are foremost in importance in the moment that is immediately in front of me. That was a lot of words to say. Trying to be very careful in control of how I live my day-to-day. And the last objective, number 8, is the objective of balance, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's living in such a way that I have a good footing, both mentally and physically. That it's hard for life to set me off my footing, which kind of speaks to the good emotional reactions, right? I mean, if I'm controlling that emotional reaction, because you can have an emotional reaction, it's one thing, but it's another thing to control how we express it. That's the balance part, right? Controlling my emotion, or having a good emotional reaction, or controlling my emotional reaction yields balance. Likewise, careful, measured footing yields balance in the physical sense. Okay, that's all 8 of my objectives. Now, I'm going to do, as I have been recently, beginning 4 days ago, I'm going to do one of my principles, principle number 5. Let's look it up. It's in the book, and you can read my book for free at goingalone.org, or you can buy it from Amazon, or, it's available in my YouTube store. You can also get it, or if you're a Patreon member, you can get it for free. Download it for free over there. Okay, it's the chapter titled The Good Life. There it is. Wait. Didn't I talk about, I'm on number 6. That's right. The principle of purpose. So it's got the title there, a sub-principle, a quote, and then a short prose description. Here you go. I'll read it. The principle of purpose. Sub-principles: biology, duty, virtue, and mission. And what those sub-principles relate to is that I have a biological purpose. They're kind of the facets of my purpose, of my recognition of purpose. The biological purpose is to reproduce, to have a child, and to raise that child to self-sufficiency. The second the second purpose is the duty. The duties that I accept, or that are born into me by virtue of life itself. Like my duty as a son, my duty as a community member, my duty as an employee, etc., etc. These are the non-biological, or not necessarily objectively or first-order biology principles, but the ones I recognize by virtue of my intellect. Intellect means just simply thinking it through. Like, what am I obliged to do as an adult citizen, right? You gotta register for the draft, I gotta vote, etc., etc. The next one is the principle of the purpose of virtue, where that's a decided purpose that I've onboarded, where virtue, as I've defined is the actions that help to promote the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. Can you hear my clock? It sounds like 12 o'clock. It just goes off randomly all the time. It has no, there's no, my clock is the perfect clock. Have a look. My clock is the perfect clock for a retired man because it doesn't keep accurate time. Here it is. It thinks it's 8 o'clock right now, or 7 something. And it chimed off like 12 gongs every now and then, and it just goes off at random times. Not random, it goes off always at the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour, but you never know how many times it goes, and it never keeps time. So I love it. The fourth purpose that I've identified here is the purpose of mission. That is whatever decided mission I have in life, and my mission is sharing the message of my own book, Going Alone, which I've done by writing 6 books total, making hundreds and hundreds of videos, keeping up active correspondence with people that write to me, etc., etc. So here we go again. The principle of purpose and the sub-principles of biology, duty, virtue, and mission. And here's a quote. I'm a fan of the 19th and 18th century writers, so a lot of the quotes that I had are very kind of obscure, a little bit hard to follow. Here we go. This is from Dr. Zimmerman. Active in indolence, abroad who roam, in quest of happiness which dwells at home, with vain pursuits, fatigued at length will find, its real dwelling is a virtuous mind. So finding in the end that happiness and the peace that we would seek comes from aligning with virtue. Here's my prose. My first purpose is to live and reproduce. Before then, dying and getting the hell out of the way. I will also perform my duty. 30 years of life dedicated to improved societal ends. Well, 40? Where did I come up with 30? Did I have, maybe I wrote this when I was at a time when I was hoping to retire at age 50. What was I thinking? 20, 30, 40. I just said how I don't have to edit the book very often. I should probably adjust that to 40, because that's become kind of my mantra, is that, 40 years at the coal face, right, before we can retire, if we're lucky at that. So 30. So here we go again. My first purpose is to live and reproduce. Before then, dying and getting the hell out of the way. I can't emphasize that enough. Getting the hell out of the way. One of the good things about dying is that we make room for the next generation. I mean, we spend ourselves, right? We become entrenched in the past, in the memory of the past, of our experiences, and we become, signposts to what was, and remembrances and echoes of past paradigm. After a while, the younger generation, like, enough with your incessant, banter about the past. Climb in the hole. Let's put some dirt on you and get you the hell out of the way and forget about you. I really, really do believe that. I mean, it's part of our duty to die and get the friggin' hell out of the way, so that the younger folks can make way. My first purpose is to live and reproduce. Before then, dying and getting the hell out of the way. I will also perform my duty. 30 years of life dedicated to improve societal ends, as well as 25 years of service to my kid, which work is largely complete when she is done with school. That's an important thing, though, that I'd like to dwell on for just a moment. I see every time we have a child that sets a clock at 25 years of dedicated service, right? We have a child, we then are dedicated to service. Like I'm corresponding right now with someone, maybe they'll see this video, relatively young father with kids that is considering some risky things, which I've done. And it's really hard for me to tell him straight that, watch out. I mean, it's not about you anymore. You made a child. It's now your obligation to see to that child's well-being, not ahead of your own. See through to your 25 years of service and get them to that age, and then you can do whatever the heck you want, right? But until then, the 25 years of service is really important. Don't risk it with the kids too much. I mean, You can take those risks if you can develop the means to do it safely, right? Have to have the fallback. Now, that's a do as I say, not as I do, because I didn't do that. I learned that one by through hard knocks. Beyond that, it is up to each of us to decide what our own personal purpose will be. For myself, I select the pursuit of virtue, where virtue is defined as a life lived in furtherance of the well-being of thinking things. And my mission is the series of goals I set for myself to achieve over the successive years of my life. So I've just reiterated the definition of the definition of virtue, the improvement of the well-being of thinking things, and that my mission would be whatever goals I set to achieve those ends over the course of my life. That's it. That's the principle of purpose. Now, there's a lot more to it, I think, but that's all I need to. It's all I need to write out there. It's because these are guideposts or signposts, right? I don't need to spell it all out for everybody. You'll figure it out yourself in your own way, through your own experience, your own successes and failures. Okay, now what am I going to do today? Well, I was going to take an adventure today. I had it all packed up. My backpack was ready to go. I was going to go to Mochi Muni and have an adventure to make a retiring in Japan video, and I was going to go swimming at Mochi Muni, but I remembered it just as I was heading out the door that today's the day that the service companies come in to pick up our Jimny, our Suzuki Jimny, because I crashed it into a fence, and they're going to take it away to the body shop to get it fixed. So I can't do that. At least I think today was the day. So what I'm going to do instead is stay here, and I'm going to make it another day of working on listing items and getting out into the garden and working on adjusting the tree as well. You know, I'm trimming the big chestnut tree, which you can just see. Turn the camera. That's the big chestnut tree, this crowning green right there. And it's throwing a lot of shade, so to speak, on the garden, more shade than we need, so I'm trimming the branches carefully to liberate that. Okay, let's go through comments before I'm done. Lots of comments. Hey, Robert. Hey, Renaissance. Heather, oh, you got the kokeshi. Great. I'm glad you like it. It was a nice one. You know, I pick these up. I carefully kind of curate these things as I go. Kokeshi, there's lots of kokeshi available in Japan, but I'm always on the eye out for nice ones, and I'm glad you like the one you got. I hope it works out well. I find a nice place to put it. Renaissance, and it took a while to get there. Wow, that was EMS. I'm surprised it took so long to get there. EMS is the fastest and the best shipping method available from Japan. Long time. Renaissance says, I think it is better to be, and thank you for your support and your patronage, Heather, I appreciate that. Renaissance says, I think it is better to be prepared to leave a mess for the loved ones. I think it is better to be prepared. To leave a mess for the loved ones is not, I think, a good choice. I agree. And Robert says, hello to Heather. Renaissance says, to have unsettled items when you are still conscious is not able to act on it. I do not see that as a good way to die. Exactly. It's like dying with soiled underwear, right? I mean, do you want the Undertaker to see your dirty underwear? Or, you know, what a crude way to say it, right? I want my house in order when I die, right? And I want to feel like my life was lived well, like I wasn't putting things off, right? You know, waiting, say, one of these days. I remember being 24 and thinking about all the things I wanted to do with life and thinking, well, I got lots and lots of time to do it. Well, I don't live like that at all anymore, right? I don't put things off anymore. I just do them. Heather says, hello and good morning to Robert. Heather says they're installing fiber in my neighborhood. I'm debating on finding out if Xfinity has a fiber. Are you using fiber at your new home? I remember you mentioned you guys got some fancy internet. I don't know what it is. It's called Komufi or something like that. It's really the hot thing with all the technical people. You know, like my brother-in-law, he's the one that recommended it. And it's really in high demand, and so like everybody wants it, and you have to get like at least a 2-month waiting list. For us, it was like 3 months to get it because they had to run the wire in. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's fiber or what. It's really fast. And I'm really happy that we got it. But I don't know what it is. I'll try to ask Yumiko, and if I remember, I'll mention it tomorrow. But she won't know either, because we just know. Maybe I'll ask ChatGPT. Oh, bag of walnuts. When you wrote your creed, had you already managed to get your affairs in order like you have now, or as you were writing it, did you still have a ways to go before being able to say I'm ready to die? Oh yeah, I had a long ways to go before. I wasn't. Yeah, no. My affairs were not in order when I was putting the creed together. It was putting the creed together that caused me to get my affairs in order. It was when once I assembled the creed and I began to deliberate on it every single day that my life began to come together in the best ways possible. So yeah, I would say it's very similar to, like, you want a map, you want to cross cross a mountain range, and suddenly when you draw up a map to cross the mountain range, well, then you're prepared to cross the mountain range, and you start crossing the mountain range. That's how it felt. I wrote the book. I wrote Going Alone from 2015 to 2018, and then I edited it. No, is that right? I can't remember the exact dates, but I wrote it for 3 years and I edited it for 5 years. So 8 years total to write that book. And it was at the end of the 8 years that I began to really start to see. And then at the end of the 8 years, I said, okay, now I'm going to live according to this creed that I created. And then things really started happening then. Hey, Bag of Walnuts. Okay, Robert says. Bag of Walnuts says hi to Robert. Elvina. Hi, Elvina. Good morning and good evening from Toronto. Ooh, Toronto, nice. I love Toronto. Hello, Robert says hello. Robert's a fellow Canadian too. And howdy all, C.E. Rouse. Hello, C.E. Rouse. Your clock is like my pee schedule. At night, random. Aaron, the stress of day-to-day living can be a crushing weight, but once I made the decision to retire to Japan and made concrete progress to that end, that crushing weight feels a bit lighter. Thanks, Kurt. You're welcome. And I had the same experience, Aaron, when I decided, it was really after our daughter, we could see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. There's the light for her graduation from university, and we would be done with our active child rearing phase of life. And I started to make the plans for Japan and actually broke out the spreadsheet and actually laid out all the financial stuff and figured out the countdown of days, and I actually mapped it all. A huge progress, and you can find all that stuff for the most part, except the spreadsheet. If you go to goingalone.org, there's a section in there called the Return to Japan. It's a whole page that documents everything. And then once I did that, and once I had it all out, and then the real clincher, Aaron, was a year out, I went to my boss and I told my boss I'm retiring, and I gave him a date, which was December 16th, 2024. Then, oh my gosh, the weight just kind of lifted off of my shoulders. It really is, it's a thing, right? It's planning it out. It's like, again, having that map, right? And then planning it out, knowing where you're headed, and that you can get there, and that it's really realistically possible. Wow. See, says hi to Robert. Aaron says, Aaron, hi Aaron. In search of PEF. PEF is peaceful, easy feeling. Yeah. I like that hashtag. Bag of walnuts. That clock is the definition of the phrase "time is transient." Love it. I love it too. I just love hearing it go off at all of its random times. And Yumiko and I have this habit now, because you can hear it throughout the house, and one of us will, when it goes off, one of us will shout, "It's time." We don't know what it's time for, but it's time. Hi, Mon Patel. There's a name from a long time ago. You've been with me a long time. Hi, Kurt. Thank you for forwarding the info for Emily's new travel agent work. I can now pass on to my son. Oh, you're welcome. So that's right. Oh, so you're the one. So I did. Emily, I did send that information. And Emily, there's a lot of, oh my gosh, I can't believe how many people, showed up, right? Especially over on LinkedIn. Because what's happening, my daughter's a travel agent now. At least for the next 2 years, she's got a job with Japan's biggest travel agency. And for the first 2 years, she's not working at one of their offices. She's working at a corporate office in Tokyo. But for the first 2 years, all of the new hires have to learn to be travel agents. So for the next 2 years, she's going to be a travel agent. She's learning all the ropes. And so I put out the word on all my social media that if anyone's coming to Japan, or if you're in Japan and you want travel help, contact my daughter and she can help you out, because she's learning the ropes. She has access to all the, no, don't worry, she's got, mentors to help her out. So she's got access to all the computer systems. She can make all the reservations, etc., flights inbound, everything. I got so many people who responded, and I sent her a list. She's like, stop, Papa, stop. It's too many people. I can't. She doesn't know what to do. But I think, so I stopped saying anything. But don't worry, I sent her the information, and I'll remind her to make sure she gets. I reminded her already. I said, just make sure that you respond to everybody, because not everybody's going to need. She was a little overwhelmed. I said, don't worry, a lot of these people are just interested in sometime in the future, right? Not necessarily in 3 weeks. Just respond to everybody, Emily. Make sure you get their information. These are your customers. Find out what their interests are, et cetera, right? So, thank you, Mon Patel. I'm glad that you were able to forward that to your son. I hope it's helpful. Elvira, Kurt, are there any Japanese authors that you like to read, either in English or original Japanese? I've been trying to read more books by Japanese writers in English. No, I'm not really I don't really read any authors in anything other than English. And my scope of reading is so narrow. I'm a very, very narrowly focused reader. And just mainly 19th century romance authors. And by romance, I don't mean like love affair. I'm talking romance is a genre of authors, Moby Dick, things like that, Nathaniel Hawthorne, etc. No, I don't have any authors to recommend. Sorry, although Daisuke Suzuki comes to mind for he's got a great book about Zen. That's a good one. It's a classic. Not a Japanese author, but a Japanese kind of, you could call him kind of like you could call him like a nominated as a Japanese. Lafcadio Hearn wrote in the 19th century about Japan as an English speaker. Really good stuff with him. Heather says, the 25 years of service for the kids, that is fact. Yeah, and it's interesting, and I think, Heather, it resets, right? With every kid we have, you set the timer back to 25, right? I have people in my life that have the kids late in life, and I'm concerned because, you have that kid too late in life. I mean, then are you really going to be up to the task, because you got that 25 years of service, right? and Robert says hi to Mon Patel. Robert says, hey, C.E. Rouse, Aaron Howard. Robert says hi to everybody. Heather says, naughty boy wrecking fences, LOL. Oh gosh, Heather, it breaks my heart every time I go by, because it's my father-in-law's neighbor's house. I broke their fence, and it's still broken. The insurance company's on it. The neighbors, they're like, no problem at all. We apologize. They said no hurry, because it's not a safety issue. It's just kind of a decorative fence, and but the insurance company should be taking care of it. And I'll of course be giving them a nice apology gift once the work is done. Mon Patel says, love watching the progress of things, gardening, walking, and especially when Yumiko and Yoko join you, and Dad and dogs. Thank you. Mon Patel, is adding God in your plan of putting your life in order? No, it's not. I gave up on, I gave up being a Christian when I was 16. And God has never been a part or parcel of my life ever since. Although I do read the Bible every day, if that counts for anything. And but I read the Bible for a different reason. I read the Bible. I imagine you're talking about the Christian God. Forgive me for assuming. I read the Bible more for literary purposes, because, like I said, I like 19th century writing. And if you have a good background in the Bible, then you can understand the literature better. Like you can't, it's one thing to read Moby Dick. It's another thing to read Moby Dick if you're Bible literate, right? It's a whole other thing together. But no, religion and God have not, of any sort of spirituality, none of that has played any part in my life since I was 16, basically. Although I'm interested in it, but it all speaks as myth and substitute for the hard work of taking responsibility for our own lives, if I don't put it too plainly. Nagira, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I recognize your name. And Lucy's Travels. Name pronounced Nahir. You got it right there. Nahir. Nari. Thank you. And I do apologize if I get it wrong, and I'll probably get it wrong in the future. I do apologize. I just do this. Hello, softypapa from Australia. This is my first live. Have a great day ahead. You too. Thank you. And I've seen you in comments before, so it's good to see you here in live. Robert says hi to everybody. Nari says, I just received your book Going Alone yesterday from the US, so I'm reading The Day Away today. Thank you so much. Please let me know if you have any questions. And by the way, I wrote that book. It was never meant to be like a story, although it does tell its tale. It's meant to be something that's kind of like a reference guide, more or less, because it tells a tale. The going alone part is just the first half of the book. The second half of the book is that I don't really mention in the title, other than the subtext of a life of courage, joy, and independence, is the coming back. Going alone is the effort of basically back to the point of God. So if you don't mind me speaking plainly, going alone, the part about going alone is going alone without the concept of God, is basically what the book is about. So it's going into the deep wilderness alone and fronting the emptiness of the universe at large, realizing that God is not real, that we are alone, and that it is up to us to if we're going to make a good life for ourselves, then it's going to be up to us to, one, identify what's important, to codify that in some way that we can have a reference point, whether that be my creed or your own creed. I recommend everyone to develop their own creed, and then do the hard work of maintaining and living it out without relying on propitiation and supplication to external powers that apparently do not exist. So back to the God point, right? So coming to that perspective and coming to that argument, even to the point of making a book that basically suggests that going alone will reveal the absence of God in the universe, at least in an intuitive sense, and that leaves us on our own. And one of two things can happen: either we'll crash down hard, realizing that there is no one to support us and that there is no afterlife, no soul to be sustained after our death, and therefore no eternity, no heaven or hell either. And then what are we left with? But the responsibility of living lives on our own, directed by our own reason and our own effort to make the best of the limited time that we've got. There, I've just summarized the whole book. So you can see it's not really a story as much as an exposition of expounding of all of that. And I think I made it to the end. So it's whatever time it is according to my clock on the wall, but I don't know. And I think it's time for me to sign off here and head on over, see if my wife's up, and then we'll start the day in earnest. Hey, Scott. I'm glad I caught the live stream today before it was over. It's a life journey. Yes, it is. It is true. I wish everybody the best. And be safe, but not too safe. And let me know if you have any questions about the book, okay? Take care. 2:43 Wednesday in California. Is that what time it is? Bye, Kurt. You know, it's funny, Heather, I get these, I still have my calendar set for my career, and it shows up, meetings pop up all the time. You know, you're supposed to be in this meeting or that meeting, because it's just kind of fun to watch it go by, you know. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye, Scott. Bye, Carlos. Bye, Robert. Have a great day. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.